Welcome back to the Admin Group podcast. I'm your host, Jay the Admin, aka the VLAN Valet, aka Command Prompt Poppy, aka Control Alt Get Paid. This is another episode, guys. I'm happy to be back with you guys. I had a rough week. As some of you guys know, in IT, it gets really busy. You know, any job where somebody comes to you with complaints, literally every day. All you get is complaints. It feels good to make it to the weekend. It feels good to make it through that week. And some weeks you get more complaints than others. So today I wanted to talk about getting into the IT industry. For those of you who have not gotten your first role in IT, you're looking to get your first role in IT, you're trying to figure out how to get to an engineer, network engineer, security, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to teach you guys how to get there. One thing that I really want to touch upon is how the IT industry is ever growing. It is constantly changing. Even the desktop roles are being replaced by automated systems. You know, they're if you know anything about Juniper has the Marvis Mist AI, the Marvis AI, and Marvis can use data correlations with the log events to tell you exactly what's wrong. This port has an outage. This cable may be going bad. Replace the cable. A lot of that replaces the time that you would need for a network engineer to go to the networking closet and troubleshoot and he might not go to the networking closet. He may go to the other side of the connection. But this is the reason why, you guys have to stay educated. You guys have to stay grinding. And if you're trying to get into it, you have to understand that it takes nonstop grinding, nonstop learning. By the end of my week, my Google Chrome, Edge, Firefox are all filled up with different tabs, usually support articles from Microsoft, VMware, a ton of Spiceworks forums, a ton of Reddit articles, where people are explaining how to fix something. So yeah. When you're trying to get into the IT industry, you have to understand that research is imperative. It's all about how well you can Google. How good is your Google foo, as you may have heard in IT. It's all about how well you can Google something. Of course, if somebody's Outlook isn't working, they can Google why it's not working. Even though you may do the same thing, it's all about what you know to look for. They may not understand modern authentication. They may not understand SMTP. They may not understand any of that. So that's why they call you. You Google it. They just act as if you wave your magic wand and you know all of the answers, and that's the praise that we get as IT admins. It feels good every time. So in terms of getting in IT, actually just recently I was on Reddit and I was going through like the CompTIA forums as well as IT career questions just to see what input I could add, and I noticed there were a lot of people who were studying for not CCNA, studying for the A+, looking to get into desktop support. And they were just asking, how do you do it? I have a background in childcare. How do I move into IT? And the answer is it's really basic. Honestly, I think most people would think of it. Pretty much when you're trying to get into IT, you do have to know something about IT. You can't be that green to where you're literally looking for a paid internship. I mean, I'm sure those exist, but if you're looking for an actual job role where you're earning a salary, you're bringing home money, you're dependent on in a team or dependent on within a company, you have to know something. You have to you have to have a strong suit, whether that is Office. I remember when I was coming up in high school and I was looking for jobs, and my friends and I were all working on our resumes all at the same time. The common joke was you always put proficient in Microsoft Office. Now, as I've gotten older, I know that back then I was not proficient in Microsoft Office. Excel formulas are something that it gets very deep. If you so a lot of IT departments work under finance, and in finance you really see the power of Excel. You really see how accountants and finance people really pull together formulas to create their spreadsheets. So, yeah, don't do that, because you can end up overwhelmed by just all of the questions, all of the problems that come your way when you say that you're good at something that you're actually not that good at. So, you want to be a sponge in terms of learning, whether that is getting the A+. I think that the A+ is a good start for somebody who's looking to start a serious career. If you're trying to get a desktop support role on a help desk at a company, I would say getting an A+ is a lot better than, let's say you know a little bit about computers and you want to go sell computers at Best Buy, or honestly, even the Geek Squad. I think you would need an A+. When I got hired onto the Geek Squad, it was really just because of my experience, because I had been in the industry for a few years prior to that. So my experience and how I handled myself in the IT interview, it really spoke for itself, so I didn't need those certifications at the time to be doing what I was doing. So when you are looking for that role, I would definitely look for something that fits where you are. I think some job roles are stepping stones. They absolutely are stepping stones, and your employer knows that as well, which is why they will try to keep you there. They may offer you, things to help you develop your career, to develop your knowledge. And if it makes sense for you, absolutely take it. Absolutely, do what helps both parties, but don't feel as if you are dedicated to this company. This company won't run without you, and you have to be there, because the truth is that company may not grow at the same rate that you grow at. If you're really determined and you want to become a systems engineer, your company may not need a systems engineer. They may just need a desktop support role. And if that's the case, you stay where you at and you never get promoted. And we don't want that to happen to you. I don't want that to happen to you. We don't want that to happen to each other. So in addition to learning, just the basics, let's say if you're in a desktop support role, I would get familiar with the type of business applications that businesses use. Office, Outlook. Outlook is a big one. Understanding Outlook and troubleshooting Outlook effectively is very effective. I have found. I would say I get an Outlook issue almost every day. Now, I support 10 companies at my job, and yeah, Outlook breaks for at least one person at all of those companies every day. And I wouldn't even say break. Weird issues with add-ins, add-ins that take a lot of resources will absolutely cause issues in Outlook. What's another one? Folders. Your power users who have tons of folders within their inbox, within their sent box, all of these folders within boxes, that can absolutely cause issues. even your calendar, too many invites, too many things on your calendar. But I say that to say you should get familiar with everything. I feel in the desktop support role, it is for the jack of all trades. You don't have to be an expert on any of those desktop applications because you didn't write them, and the next time it gets an update, it'll be different. So you don't have to be an expert on any application or on, I wouldn't say any concept within help desk support. I would definitely pick something or try to find a subsection within IT as you're working in the help desk support role to help drive the rest of your career. In terms of Windows administration, there's a ton of Microsoft certifications that you can get to know exactly how to control an environment, how to use Active Directory effectively, how to create group policies that control an entire network, that control every device within that network, how to set up an SCCM server, how to set up a file server, how to set up SQL, how to maintain a database. These are all things that you will interact with in a help desk role, whether that be on the application level, your users and how they access the file shares, how they access an SQL server. These are all things that you will touch on. You may not know exactly how they work, but within touching those things, I would look for something that appeals to you, especially to you. Again, networking was my thing. So that was the route that I took after primarily being help desk. I'm still help desk because, to be honest, that never really goes away. I said it before, as long as people are using the computer, they will have problems with the computer. So that is my tips for just getting in and not knowing anything. You got to know the basics of wherever you're at. But next is gaining experience. Now, gaining experience is something that's really tricky within IT, really for any job. If you're trying to get into an industry, a lot of jobs say experience required. If you're trying to get in, you have no experience. So you're in this chicken and the egg situation, but there is a way around that. And the way around it is projects. On your resume, list the projects that you've done. These projects could be setting up your home Wi-Fi, doing something in particular in your home network. Let's say you set up a file server. Let's say you set up your computer to be the file server and you used SMB to allow your other computers to communicate with the media server, and that is how you watch 90 Day Fiancé. These are things that will appeal to your employer and will impress them. You may not have a prior IT role, but this is something that you're proving that you know it, and you can show, I have this project. This is exactly how I set it up. It's Ethernet. The computer runs 24/7. It has a static IP. It has a public IP, maybe. My cousins use it. My grandma uses it to watch 90 Day Fiancé. These are all things that will shine on your resume. One job in particular that I had, I told them about how I was setting up Raspberry Pis to play video games on. It was a video game emulator. And I just talked about how I set up one and I created an image and wrote that image to other SD cards for the Raspberry Pi. And that really impressed them, and in their environment, they struggled with all of the computers being uniform. So I also got into using group policy to make sure those computers were uniform. And I, excuse me, and I also streamlined the new PC setup process. If you ever work in desktop support, you understand that you will set up a lot of new computers. You will know the Windows setup process by heart. Hi, I'm Cortana. I've heard it 1,000 times, 1,000 times. A little bit of Wi-Fi here, a little bit of Wi-Fi there. I've heard it 1,000 times. So, as you're getting into the industry, don't be afraid to try new things, but also don't be afraid to do your own research to figure out what new challenges you can take on. If you do your research on Raspberry Pis, there are a ton of things out there that they offer to people trying to learn programming. They have specific kits and programs for people who want to do Python programming. I seen one project to set up an automated sprinkler system with the Raspberry Pi. I don't know exactly how that works, but but I know for a fact that it does work. I know for a fact that there's this website that lists all of these different projects, and from doing that, sure, it's impressive on this website, but to get this $40,000-$50,000 job, that may be all you need. That may be all you need. Yeah, you may not be Inspector Gadget or an inventor to where you're inventing new products to sell, but if you're displaying technical know-how, that is good enough to get into the IT industry. It shows that you understand the basic principles. You understand, well, you may not understand security, but going through all of these motions, going through command prompt and being comfortable with command line, all of these shine through in an interview, and they shine through on a resume, and they say, you know what, this person is not just a bookworm. They also know how to get in the field and get their hands dirty and really fix things, and not just tell me IPs or tell me theoretically how OSPF works or theoretically how BGP works. No, they've actually set it up. And again, it's not just Raspberry Pis. It could also be old Cisco equipment, old HP equipment, old 3Com equipment that you bought from eBay. Buy an old router. Buy your friend a router. Set up a VPN connection between the two, and share files. I don't know. Set up a file server between the two. Share movies that you download. Share movies you torrent. Whatever. Just do something to where you are doing something you love first and foremost, because things break, things change. You may have a dynamic IP at home, so once your IP address changes, your entire lab or your entire environment just goes down. That is a possibility. But if this is something that you enjoy doing, you will fix it with no problem, and that gives you good experience for the real world, because real connections break, real connections go down, and you have to get in there and fix it. While people are screaming, while people are panicking, they have to know that they can trust you. And if you've never seen that situation before and it's your first time, it will be a lot for you. It will be a lot for you. Again, like I said, in the IT industry, every day people are coming to us with problems. Every day people are coming to us with a problem that they need a solution to, and that problem is too complex for them. So they're going to the expert or the jack of all trades, if that's what you are. And you have to know how to get that solution. Even if it is Google, even if it is the Spiceworks forums, even if it is Reddit, if that's where the answers are, that's where the answers are. And they come to you because you know where the answers are. Wave your magic wand. So yeah, when you're gaining that experience through your projects, not only does it look good on the resume, not only does it look good in the interview, but it shows that you know what you're doing. And nobody can take that from you. If one person says, why don't you have any actual experience? That is their opinion. But the next person will say, okay, that's what we're looking for. That is enough experience. That shows me that you're actually hardworking. I have worked on help desk experiences or help desk. I've worked on help desks where you're really just resetting passwords. You're just setting up new accounts. They're not using Outlook. They don't have anything complex going on, or the company is so big to where there is a network engineer and he handles network issues. There is a security analyst and he handles security issues. There is a level 2 help desk support guy. So if there is anything above password reset, anything above I can't get to the internet, it goes directly to him. So if you're in one of these roles and it is limiting, or if you're not even at that level yet and you're just trying to get there, that may be perfect for you. But you want to show that you have that technical know-how, because not everybody does. And even if they have experience, they may still not, have that go-getter attitude to work on something at home, like we're all in this professional world and we all understand the value of spare time. Like, yeah, everybody's working full time. Everybody who's applying for a new job has come from a job where they worked full time, where all of their spare time, some may have been allocated towards work, but the rest is your family and your loved ones and yourself, your own mental health and taking your own vacations. These are all things that will shine through for you when you are showing that you dedicated yourself and you use that free time where you could have been on vacations to instead learn IT and to prepare yourself for a new job opportunity. So absolutely take heed to that gem. Raspberry Pis, you can buy a full kit for around $35. Soon I'll be giving those away. They also have the Raspberry Pi Zero. I think that would be the $35 kit. They have a more powerful Raspberry Pi, the Raspberry Pi 3. That one, the kit is probably around $60 to $70, but it is something good to have at home to play with, to teach your kids to play with. There are a ton of guides for kids to teach them how to build things. They have different robots that you can program, and all of these things not only look great on your resume, they also help you in those situations that are to come where the pressure will be on and you have to solve an issue, or they will prepare you when you're just dealing with an issue, actually completing something. That's why they say college is important, because it shows that you can start something and complete it. You can dedicate yourself and get results at the end and get to your goal ultimately. And that is what jobs need. They need people to meet deadlines, just like you would do your homework. They need people to show initiative. If they're not understanding something, they can go ahead and seek the help that they need, whether that be the website that they need. They can call the person that they need. That may be a person senior to you or higher than you, or at a different company, a colleague from a past company. I've done that. But They want to know that you are dedicated enough and you are disciplined enough to where you can knock out whatever task they put in front of you. So, doing your projects and doing things on your own will absolutely translate to your work, because if you handle yourself a certain way, that way will shine through in whatever you're doing. If you're making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich versus setting up a switch, if you're the type of person to quit in making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, if there's no clean spoons, you're going to quit when your switch has a complex setup that you may not understand. So keep that in the back of your mind. Next is the resume. Now, projects are a good way to spruce up your resume. I would also dress your resume up with whatever certifications you have, as well as all of the... So if you don't have any IT experience and you're trying to dress up your resume, projects, detail those projects. I mean, you're not going to have any other experience on there. So make sure you go into detail of every aspect, the applications you use, the programming languages you use, the networking technologies that were involved in it, how it works beginning to end, all of the parts that you used. Detail all of that within your projects, and also remember to not be so dependent on your past experiences. At a certain point in my IT career, I realized that my experience from TJ Maxx or my experience from Champs, which is a sneaker store, didn't exactly translate to a desktop support role or a networking role or even systems engineering role. So eventually I took it off of my resume. It's good that I've had a job, but at a certain age, if you're professional, it'll show that you've had a job. If you're unprofessional, then yeah, they may say, has this person ever had a job? So if you've had a few jobs and you display a certain level of professionalism, I would not be so inclined to include jobs that aren't in the IT industry on your resume. I would probably just leave them off, because you don't want to cloud that person's idea of you based off of your resume. So if you're coming from childcare, you've had 3 or 4 jobs, all dealing with daycares or children, and you have an A+, and you have projects, your childcare background will cloud that hiring manager's judgment, and it will cloud the HR person's the HR person's judgment of you, because you're not putting that forth. You know, your experience is going to shine the most, to be honest, because people want to see where you're coming from. What was your last position? But if let's say the same person just put projects, no work experience, just the projects, just the certifications, just the skills that they've learned within networking, no certifications, just the skills that they've learned. Now, you will have to apply for a job that is not very complicated, or apply for a job that is directly related to the level that you're at. So if there's like a basic help desk role that you could take, help desk intern or something like that, that would work in that situation, to put no experience at all, just your projects and just the skills you've learned. Now, if you do have some experience, I would say stick to all IT related jobs. Do not include anything that is not IT related, unless you're going for a managerial role. Then it it will make sense to include some managing experience just to let the hiring manager know that you have experience in delegation, you have experience in project management and people management, because that's not so IT exact. So again, on your resume, I would keep it for the most part simple, but very IT focused. The skills you know, the projects you've worked on, the certifications that you've earned. If you don't have any certifications, the skills that you know and the systems that you've worked with as well. If you haven't worked with any, the systems and the programs and services that you use within your projects. If you do have experience, everything that you've touched in your career, outline that. And lastly, the IT interview. If you've gone through the process, it's a lot like when you're applying for just a regular old job. You apply online, tell them all of your qualifications, all that good stuff, and then you get a call and you speak to somebody. You tell them about yourself, you tell them about your background, you tell them, that you're eager to start the job, all of that good stuff. After the phone interview and you speak to someone, you then will be called back to go in for an in-person interview. And then for that, you may meet an HR person, you may meet someone in a managerial role. It all depends on the company structure, but that person you meet may not be the person that you're going to be reporting to. So in that interview, it's going to be more of the same thing. Tell me about yourself. What's your background? What is it that you want to do? Why should we hire you? And that's going to be your more average interview. Then, if you're called back again, you will then speak to the technical person. And that is where you come across the IT interview. And I've done this a few times. I've been in this more than a few times. And every time it's more about feeling you out to see what your level of experience is, what your level of expertise is. For instance, when I was getting my first real desktop support role at USF in the Department of Computer Science, I knew a lot, but I didn't know everything. And I was very transparent about that in the interview process. But I was also very clear that I know networking. This is what I love doing. This is something that I deeply understand. But is in terms of managing Red Hat, in terms of CentOS, Linux administration, these aren't things that I've dealt with, but I have played with Ubuntu a bit. I am familiar with these things. I do know the difference. And sure enough, that was enough. Actually, in the interview, the IT administrator that I worked with, the systems administrator, he taught me a lot of those things in the interview. I remember him explaining RAID 0, 1, 3, and 5, exactly how all of them work in the interview, which was cool, and most IT guys want to teach like myself. So in that interview, I was very transparent about the things that I knew as well as the things I didn't know, and that paid off for me. So when you are in the IT interview, again, it is about lingo, but it is also about understanding these concepts. You may not understand that a network connection from one switch to another switch in the industry may be called a segment. Some people call that a segment. Some other people just call it a link. Other people call it a cable. But if you call it a segment, a network segment, a leg, that shines, or it rings a bell in a systems administrator's ear to say, okay, this person has been around, or this person has been around some networking, and that helps you out. But it's also about understanding these concepts, understanding the concepts of IP addressing, DHCP servers. All of these things help you to be seen as proficient, to be seen as capable of doing the job that it is you've applied for. So when you're in that IT interview, be relaxed. Understand that the person across from you will know. Chances are they are older than you, or more seniored or experienced in that industry. So there's no way that you're gonna fake it. Just depending on how deep the conversation gets, there's no way that you can really fake that. So it really is about just showing your personality and showing your knowledge, and really flexing that, because depending on what it is you've applied for and what it is you're trying to do in your career, as long as you're not aiming too high, I'll say, as long as you're not aiming too high, you're trying to get into IT, you're not applying for the network engineering roles, you're not applying for the cybersecurity engineering roles, director of IT, as long as you're not doing that and you're staying at your level, and then when you get in that position, you learn everything there is for you to learn, you will grow very quickly, very quickly. But you have to understand where you are and be humble, humble yourself, understand where you are, understand that you are there to help and they can help you as well. The people around you can be fountains of knowledge. All you have to do is just be truthful and honest with yourself, but also hardworking. You have to be very diligent in seeking that knowledge, very diligent in understanding and knowing what it is you don't know, and putting your ego to the side. The IT industry changes at least every year. Every year. At one point, IPv6 was something that was going to replace IPv4, and it was going to be so much better. There are all these improvements, and we're probably 10 years later, 10 years after IPv6 was implemented and created to replace IPv4 and all of these disappearing IP addresses. We're still using IPv4. They've come up with NAT. They've port sessions. There's so many different things that have changed from that sentiment 10 years ago when people thought that IP addresses were going to run out. So I say that to say you have to be very willing and very eager to learn throughout your career. That does not go away. Hackers are getting younger, hackers are getting smarter, and on the other side, as a good guy, trying to protect the network, you have to be even better than them, and that does not happen through you being lazy, which is why we see so many data breaches now. So in your career, absolutely understand that it's about that knowledge, and specifically in your IT interviews that you go on or may have, don't think so much that, they're going to put you to the test. You're going to have to set up a switch right then and there in the room. That's not exactly what it is. They know that people are progressing and developing their skills, and they may not know these things. So depending on where you are, they may not do that to you. And in my experience, it's just a conversation. It's just a feeler to see, do you actually know what it is you're talking about? Because to a person who actually speaks that lingo, if you don't know that lingo, you expose yourself very quickly, very quickly. So that is the end of this episode, guys. I hope this was some help for you. And if you're trying to get into the IT industry, if you know somebody who's trying to get into the IT industry, please share this video with them. Please share this audio podcast if you're listening on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Share the link with them. Let them know that there's this guy out there, Jay the Admin, aka VLAN Valet, and this guy out here is giving the game. He is giving the knowledge for people trying to grow and develop their IT career. And yeah, you should check him out. So, till next time, yeah, guys, work hard, be diligent, and never stop learning. Have a good one. I'll see you next week. Bye.